welcome to the second episode of Transatlantic Talks, a podcast by ECO and AmCham Portugal, the American Chamber of Commerce in Portugal, which this year celebrates its 75th anniversary. Portugal has been firmly on the radar of American capital. By the end of 2025, the stock of U.S. foreign investments in Portugal stood at around 16.8 billion, according to the Bank of Portugal. The United States is now the third largest investor in the country and the largest non-European one. Portugal has also attracted major American and European investment firms with large-scale projects underway. Joining us today are two excellent examples of this investment: Start Campus in Sines, represented by its Chief Marketing Officer, Omer Wilson, and Aero Global, represented by its CEO in Portugal, João Bugalho. Hello, Omer and João. Welcome to Transatlantic Talks. João, I'll start by you. Aero Global invests across several European countries and has made a clear commitment to Portugal. I understand it's the largest geography in terms of investment. I would like to ask you to give us a sense of the numbers. How much is Aero Global investing in Portugal?
Currently, the platforms owned by Aero manage around 13 billion of assets in Portugal, comprising credit, real estate, hospitality, and lending as well. And the fund has invested more than 500 million, so 500 million per year over the last 3 years. Mm-hmm. And we are hoping to do the same this year. It seems a bit hefty, but it's been the way.
An additional 500
million around that per year. It's been a geography that Aero enjoys a lot. It's been investing in the country for more than 20 years now. It came to the conclusion that owning what we call platforms, which are managers of the assets that our funds acquire, was the best way forward, and acquired White Star first back in 2015. It was a former Lehman Brothers. And then we've been on a growth process until now. Today we have 7 platforms and 3,200 people altogether in the assets that we manage.
Why Portugal for such a big?
Well, it's a nice country to invest in spite of the bureaucracy and all the headaches that we typically go through. The fact is, everyone speaks English from a economic standpoint. For the wrong reasons, Portugal was a champion of non-performing loans, so that was the area where Aero back then had most of its activities. So it was only natural to come to Portugal and other Southern Europe countries. Ended up falling in love with the country. It's been a very good connection from the get-go. And then from 2015, with investment in the platforms, that became even more natural. I mean, we have an executive committee in the country that is fully made up by Portuguese people, so no foreigners. Mm-hmm. We're 9, led by me. And each platform has a CEO that runs the business with some level of independence, although at the end of the day, this is all Aero Global, but sure, different platforms run the business on their own. And I mean, it's been a very successful story. We've been growing with a steady pace, making money every year. So yeah, Aero is very happy with this deal.
So 500 million, do you want to keep that pace?
We'll have to see. I mean, there's a lot of things happening at this point. I'm struggling with deploying 500 more million in equity only, because then we can do some leverage as well in some of the deals. It's a lot of money for the Portugal size. Mm-hmm. So we are leading the way to Spain, the Portuguese team at this point. It's a much bigger market. We weren't there before.
So we were entering Spain from Portugal.
Well, we just hired a Spanish CEO. Needs to be a Spanish guy leading Spain. Sure. But that will be backed by the Portuguese structure, which is the larger and most diversified within the Aero world. So we support other countries in terms not only as a business template for the other things they need to do, but also what we call shared services area, where IT, HR, legal, risk, science, and so on, finance, so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. We can support the growth in other countries.
Okay. So Start Campus is a massive data center complex that is financed by David Kempner, a US fund, and UK-based Pioneer Point Partners. Omer, that's a bit the same question. What are the key factors that helped attract this project to Portugal?
Yeah, thanks. Great to be here. For us, it's not dissimilar, I think, to what was just said. We completely agree in terms of the local population and the the English capability and the expertise locally, especially around engineering as well, etc., is very important. But for us, maybe because it is a slightly different investment, when you're looking at data center technical infrastructure, there's a whole range of decisions you have to go through. And when Davidson Kempner 2020, around 2020, pre-2020, were looking at sites, they looked to, probably between 50 to 100 sites across Europe.
Okay.
And went through various filters to get right down to where we are today, which is in Singe in Portugal. And when you look at that, maybe 3 or 4 key factors, I think, jumped out for us in terms of why here and why Portugal. One, I would say, is the energy makeup of the country is very, very key for us. Mm-hmm. By that, I mean twofold. One is
the share of renewables.
Share of renewables, very, very key for our customers. For us, of course, also, but for our customers. And generally, our customers are large tech companies. So for their customers as well, which is the end users, everybody's driving for renewable energy. And to get to what was, I think, just released by the authorities here in the first 3 months, 79%, I think. Last year was 69% renewable on the national grid is very unique. Mm-hmm. There's not many countries that can do that. Tied to that, which is quite surprising, is that the energy, despite being renewable, is also very good, cost effective wise as well. So it's not too far off Scandinavia. So when you look at data center markets in Europe, the old tier ones, which is sort of the big financial centers of Europe, London, Paris, Amsterdam, Frankfurt, are getting very constrained on power now for new data center builds. Mm-hmm. So Scandinavia has been growing for a number of years, and that's been driven by, again, very good access to energy mix, renewables, and very good cost of energy. Portugal is not too far off some of the best Scandinavian markets in terms of energy. So that was a big factor for us around the energy makeup. Mm-hmm. 2 is the network capability. So Portugal's the only country in the world which is physically subsea cable connected to every continent in the world. And that means a lot for our customers as well. So the fact we can get network connectivity so well was a huge factor. And then the last one, I would say, there's other factors as well, but the power infrastructure. So the uniqueness of the campus we're building, apart from the size, which is the largest in Europe, mm-hmm. as of today, 1.2 gigawatts, very much AI focused in terms of the size, was the fact we could get access to seawater intake infrastructure from a decommissioned EDP power plant mm-hmm. just next door. The reason that's unique is for the first time at this size, we'll be using seawater cooling, which is very important for AI infrastructure. So the fact we could get access to that infrastructure, we're going to have to build our own on the campus in terms of some additional tunneling. But the seawater infrastructure on the waterfront was very key to have that already existing because of the decommissioned plant. So those factors sort of came together and made sense for this investment.
Okay, so all those ingredients also helped attract a 10 billion investment by Microsoft. In what stage is that project right now?
So we announced at the end of last year, basically the campus will be total 6 different facilities, or if you want 6 different data centers in one large campus. Mm-hmm. And the first facility, which we call Sino 1 or the Nest, because it's the smallest of all of them, is now complete. And that was complete about a year ago. Mm-hmm. 33 megawatts, which is actually in the old days a very large data center, but now it goes to show the scale of these buildings is going to be the smaller facility. Mm-hmm. We announced that the majority of that space was taken by Nscale, which is a key, what's called a neo cloud, one of these new AI companies, but they're servicing Microsoft with NVIDIA chips. So Microsoft is actually the end customer of Nscale, who is our customer. So that's what Microsoft announced, was the fact that they're basically investing in that agreement and using the NVIDIA chips that are coming and have already arrived in the majority to actually service Copilot in the EU from this site. So again, another important part of the importance of Portugal.
Sure.
This campus.
And that's already happening. So
it's already happening. Yeah, the chips, the GB300s have arrived and are now being switched on in the first building, and we're now looking in terms of the pre-works and the planning for the second building, which will be much larger. So that's going to be 200 megawatts, and that will, once all the pre-works are done, will take about 16 to 18 months. So probably looking end of 27 for that to go live, and then it'll be a rolling development. Then we'll start on the next building after that.
So besides Microsoft, are there other clients in the pipeline?
There's other clients already in Sino One that we don't disclose, but mainly American and European tech companies on a smaller scale in terms of size. The majority of that building is at N scale, Microsoft with NVIDIA, but the pipeline is very busy. AI predominantly given the size of the campus, so it's really, for these sorts of size deployments, it's training AI and AI inference, the actual usage, distribution of AI, those sorts of customers, mainly American and European.
João, AeroGlobal has already a strong presence in real estate and tourism. Some flagship projects like Vila Moura and Troy Resort are already established. What are the new investments that you're planning?
Well, we do a lot of credit portfolios as well. So our origin, in fact, is credits. We have then evolved into real estate in 2018 with the acquisition of Norfin, and then hospitality more recently, precisely because being Portugal such a small economy comparatively, it's difficult to find sectors where you have depth of investment, where you can make volumes, and volumes are always relevant. You need scale. So tourism is one of those areas. And we particularly like resorts where you can have cash generating elements such as marinas, golf courses, hotels as you develop. So you don't need to make capital calls, not to pay salaries. So you have a structure generating cash, and that's really relevant if you want to develop. So we're very happy with the perimeters that we have, besides Vila Moura and Troy, the most recent one. We also have Palmares and Monterrey down in Algarve, Bizarre up in the north, and Arueira as well on the south bank of Lisbon. We are the largest golf player in country. We think golf is absolutely crucial, not per golf itself, which is also relevant, but because golf helps a lot in reducing the seasonality of these regions. I mean, when I grew up, Algarve was the summer, basically. You go there June, July, August, some September. And it's difficult.
It changed a lot since then.
It has to, because otherwise it's very difficult to make investments that are minimally profitable if you only can work for 3 months. So the golf is basically bringing in the shoulder seasons. And we are also investing big time in Vila Moura, in the largest equestrian center in Iberia, which is going to work mainly throughout December, January, February. And that even supports more the reduction of seasonality done in Algarve. So if you set up that right, then you can invest in different type of amenities and perimeters. And that caters super well for the type of new customers, investors, visitors that we are getting in Portugal, namely the Americans. The Americans, they have deep pockets. They are looking for a level of service that you typically don't see in Europe. You see that a lot more in the US than you see here. It's a way that we need to make ourselves, in terms of delivery, more capable to cater for these markets. And I think we're going in the right direction.
So this 500 million will also go into tourism?
Oh, yes. We will continue to look at different springers.
But the projects you are already in or new?
We're doing a lot of stuff I can't disclose. We're always seeing. I mean, sure, if it comes to us these days, if anyone wants to sell or whatever, real estate, they almost inevitably they come to Arrow. Which is good. I mean, it's just the difficulty is making sure that you filter it correctly and don't spend too much time looking at stuff that doesn't make a difference. But yeah, I mean, you have a lot of investment theses in Portugal that are workable from at least from a theoretical standpoint. We have a very fragmented hospitality market. Hotels, we have a vast number, 800 small hotels, mom and pop shops, no technology, no access to correct distribution, no good understanding of the new digital world. these hotels need money, or else they will collapse, most of them. Maybe some will survive because they're on very specific.
We'll be looking into the consolidation of the
It could be. I mean,
sector.
it's a lot of pain to buy 50-room hotels by an owner that has an emotional attachment to it. So if someone is willing to go down that route, it may pay in the end game. We're not there yet. It makes sense conceptually. It's a lot of pain to go through that. It takes a long time to acquire something small from an owner that is the family is invested in.
We'll be looking for more medium-sized hotels.
We look at
large, medium.
We look at large perimeters. We're not going to buy hotels in the city unless there's a specific reason, like a distressed assets or some value adds transformation that can come into play. We won't do it. I mean, we're not looking for. We take risk because we believe we can transform, and to do that, you need to find very specific situations.
One specific situation is affordable housing.
Correct.
So the government is pushing for the build of this affordable housing with several measures. AeroGlobe already launched Nexor, which is dedicated to this field. So what investments are planned? Are there projects already underway?
Yeah, so we recognize that there's a huge gap between supply and demands on construction over the last 15 years. It's been dramatic. It's not only Portugal, actually. It's a bit of Europe suffering exactly from the same. And that's one of the reasons why prices are so sustained. We did set up a company called Nexor. We have a local partner, construction company, which is Ferreira. Ferreira has 30% of the equity in the company. We have 70%. We have already 2 projects under development, one in Vila Nova de Gaia and another one in Setúbal for 150 beds. We are looking at a number of different sites in Portugal. It is
for additional capacity.
So there's going to be volume there for sure. You need to be clever in the way you keep construction costs very tight, and wars don't help in that sense. And development is always a long-term play where you have between the moments you define the strategy, till finding a site, till negotiating the site, till developing a concept, licensing, building, and then selling. It can be 2, 3, 4 years in Portugal. A lot of things happen in between, and you need to be very well remunerated for that type of risk. We see the demographics working in our favor. The gap between supply and demand clearly is there, but the market is very well sustained. And the average Portuguese citizen is having a lot of trouble in buying houses. If you are smart enough in being capable of building on an acceptable construction level, and if you're fast, and this is the crucial point, time for me is the thing that kills me the most. I work on very high IRRs. Time kills me. So unless we find less bureaucratic, more speedy processes, it's going to be difficult.
Like industrial
construction, licensing, goodwill from the city halls as well, which I think is there. The government's very focused on this. I think we're going to see a lot of changes happening. We're looking at, I think, 5 more sites at this point.
What's the investment targets for this area?
In terms of what? Deployment of capital?
Yes.
To be entirely blunt, it's not that much in terms of capital deployment because the properties are very cheap.
Okay.
You find 200 euros per square meter or even below. We can even come for free. It's the construction cost that you come up against. And all the bureaucracy, you can fund a significant part of the capex made there. Okay. So from a capital deployment perspective, it's not... it doesn't change and doesn't move the needle as much as we'd like to. But if you add them all up, ends up being interesting. I think that for this year, we're looking to deploy 50 million from the 458 I told you about. 50 million will probably be made on that sector, maybe more.
Omer, has a decision been made to invest in a new location beyond Sines? You're still looking at that?
We're still looking, but it's definitely on the plan, I would say. As I said, this, building out 1.2 gigawatts of infrastructure is going to keep the company very focused. It's probably worth saying, again, this is a unique development for Europe. This size of infrastructure investment on data centers has not been done in Europe, not at 200 plus megawatts. So this will take a lot of focus, but we've already announced last year that we're looking at one more site in Portugal, probably a little bit closer to Lisbon, location-wise. So we've identified potential sites. Again, in terms of our operating brand and where we want to sit in the industry, we're looking to be an AI-ready developer of this infrastructure. And by that, there's a few points, that need to make up any future site. One is energy-wise. You won't be able to build 1.2 gigawatts everywhere, but at least a few hundred megawatts would be sort of the starting point, because it's an AI.
For these new sites.
For AI facilities, it's generally, higher energy requirements given the chips that run. So we're talking a few hundred megawatts potentially, and then also a renewable angle. Now, we don't know what that will be. In Sinj, we were, as I said, fortunate we could use the seawater, which is getting a lot of international attention from the tech companies, because, unfortunately, you'll read the press in North America, a lot of focus not only on the energy usage, but the freshwater usage for these sites. Yeah. So having a closed and open loop system where you can, sustainably use the sea, let's say it, is getting a lot of people interested. But in the other sites, that's not always possible. You're not going to have access to seawater like this. So other angles. So if it's solar, some sort of, renewable angle is going to be important on new sites.
That gives it a competitive advantage.
Exactly. And it's getting more and more important when you work with the grid as well. And then, as we announced with the EDP agreement we announced recently, we'll also be looking at other locations across Iberia, so into Spain, obviously, and then also other locations EDP has in other geographies, such as North America. So a bit of a joint approach, what sites they have in terms of power and old land facilities we might be able to use, and then going into those potentially together with them. So that was an important agreement.
So would that include the US?
Yes. At the moment, it's really looking at potential sites in Iberia, and then the other major market in the world, which is a very, very busy market.
So we might start a campus in the US.
Potentially, I don't know what time frame that would be, but it's if you're looking at AI, there's only one market in the world. It's a very congested market, but it's because the demand is still there very much, and whichever way you look at it, the demand is going to increase. So I think we're going to get Portugal where we want on the steady state. I think Sinj is our priority number one. Make sure this campus, as I said, there's a reason it's pioneering, because it hasn't been done before at this size. So we want to get that right. And then first step, I think, expansion in Portugal, and then Iberia, and then other markets, potentially North America.
Okay. Portugal and Spain are also competing to host one of the European supported gigafactories. And since a potential site, are you concerned about this competition?
No, I think, two things to say on that. I guess one is when we talk about Sinj, there's a strong potential. We're talking about our campus as well. So we're talking about one in the same thing around where this, if it's one, where it could sit. It's a joint application now with Portugal and Spain, but Sinj, our site, was not part of the application, but it was used as a reference, obviously, because it's such a large reference for Portugal.
Sure.
Second thing, even if it's not in Sinj and with us and another part of Portugal, our view on this is the more the market grows, the better it is for everybody. And we're quite insistent on this. And we think not just Portugal, but Iberia as a whole. So even new developments in Spain, I think, can only help everybody, because if you look at the demand curve in the tech industry, there's going to be a lot to go around. So I think the important thing here is making Portugal a hub, which can only happen if something like the Gigafactory is chosen to be here. I think that only helps the rest of the market and the ecosystem.
So, but the Start Campus could host that Gigafactory?
That's one of the discussions. Yeah, it's we're not directly part of the application. We were used as a reference site because of obvious reasons. But within Singe, we've got 1.2 gigawatts on the campus and a lot of building to happen. So it's definitely a potential home for that. But then again, it could be Singe, but there's also other locations in Portugal being looked at that we wouldn't be part of. Yeah, but it's become a joint bid, as you know. So I think, which is quite clever, I think it's looking at how Iberia sits within the EU plan. Because I think if you look at the applications as well, it's been reduced by the EU as well. I think it shows the value of these sites. They had so many applications from member states. I believe, I don't know the exact number, but 50 to 60 applications from different regions within the EU.
Yes.
And they've put a lot more criteria now to get that down to maybe 6 to 10, I'm hearing. That's the max they want.
Okay.
So it shows how competitive this is becoming in terms of obviously, there's funding and support from the EU, but it's also putting your country in the technology map.
Spotlight.
Yeah.
You talked about the opportunities and the ingredients that helped attract Start Campus to Portugal, but what are still the barriers? Do you feel there are still barriers that needed to be put down?
I think it's it's probably safe to say that, and having been in this industry, different geographies, including the Far East, even places like Singapore, right, which is run more like a private sector company than a country. Right? In terms of regulation, I don't think you can get much better across the board, just because it's also quite a small and compact country, but they do things very well. Even there's data center regulation, permitting issues. So as an industry, it's a difficult industry for countries to work with, because there's so many different factors. You've got energy infrastructure, you've got community infrastructure, you've got housing, as we discussed around the investment areas doing, which is so critical. So it touches multiple areas, which means it gets complicated. I would say we have had up to today, everything has worked on schedule. So we've been able to launch Sino 1. We're now looking to start on Sino 2. Is everything perfect? No. So I think there's streamlining of processes that I think will help. The really big development recently, which pleased us a lot, was the data center roadmap. That's sort of just been announced by central government. We're only currently seeing the top level parts of that roadmap, but I think if you look at it, one of the sections is around process and permitting. So I think, and that follows the national AI roadmap that was previously announced. So I think Portugal, from a technology and digitization, central government and local government planning, is taking this very seriously. And I think they've been very open, which is very impressive, that the communication, they want more communication, also planning, that they want more. They want more in the country, and they feel they can manage that. So I think within the roadmap, there's we're going to be watching it closely in terms of what new processes and streamlining they're looking to do. It's really important around national and local government interaction as well. So we work very closely from a national infrastructure, as you can imagine, with central government, but also within Singe and the municipality we work, and that goes back to housing. Jobs, and just the local infrastructure that you have to work with.
And the relation has been with the municipality.
It's been very good. And I think it's now more about what we can do because of the number of, construction peak we're going to have in terms of workers. So we're actively looking at projects around temporary housing initially to take off the strain off the wider housing issue.
Because the prices have gone up.
The whole region is growing in terms of numbers of people, and it's not just us. There's so many other developments in the region, which is also good for the region, because the region has needed investment. but those sorts of projects come with the requirement of housing and how does the local population.
Maybe you have an opportunity for renewable invest.
It's so important. So I think, there's always an opportunity there. So we're looking at temporary housing solutions for the 1,000 to 3,000 construction workers that will be actively on the next phase, and then more permanent. It's not just housing; it's schools, it's hospitals, it's doctors.
Could Subscreva is helping to finance that?
We are for our own projects, so I'll be careful not to say it's not a region-wide solution. For our own project needs, we're actively looking and planning already for the temporary housing piece. Some of that temporary housing will actually be good enough to stay, if that makes sense. It'll be sort of very good temporary housing or infrastructure that potentially could stay longer than temporary. But the other piece, obviously, additional housing takes time, as we know. So that doesn't solve the solution for, the next 3 months or 6 months as the project starts. But we are also thinking about that. That will need, I think, a bit more of a consortium type approach with the municipality is now looking at closely, where I think it's not just us, it's the other factories and projects which are coming to Sinj. I think the population will double over the years. So I think everybody needs to come together and work out what is the long-term solution. So we'll try and alleviate the strain, as I said, with the temporary or the short to mid-term solution, just to make sure it gives us time to look at the long-term with the others in the region.
Actually, if I may, so related to this, I mean, the real estate division inside AmCham is setting up an event for the 22nd, where the discussion will be precisely around what's happening in scenes and the data centers and all the logistics that are needed to face a behemoth like this. I mean, it's a huge thing happening down there, and it impacts at every level. So we'll have also one of our ministers, I don't think I can disclose yet which, but we have someone attending at a high level as well. Rob will be also the CEO of Stack Campus will be attending as well. The mayor will be attending as well. So I think everyone recognizes the need to make significant strides, to overcome the difficulties there.
Yeah. João, we also are having a conflict in the Middle East. But for a country like Portugal, and for your business in particular, what this may represent?
Well, inevitably, short term, we are already facing positive impacts. We are seeing people that were to go play golf there, they're coming here, or they wanted to go to a vacation. Portugal ends up being a sort of a natural choice, even more than the other European countries closer to the conflict versus Turkey versus Greece. Mm-hmm. Portugal benefits from this. We already benefited from the Arab Spring back in 15 years ago, massively. And again, that's happening. But that's short term. In the long run, all this effervescence, all these difficulties are not good for tourism. People will stop traveling if needed be. So we need to make sure that we are able to use up the opportunity of having a larger flow of people coming over to show how great the country can be for them to invest in, to buy a house, to spend more time than they do. Now we have all these digital nomads. People are spending further away than only their vacation and they have. So for us, this is a fantastic opportunity to showcase the good things we have to offer in country, and we need to be able to respond to that in a positive way. So short term, very good. If we're clever, can be good in the long term. Wars are never good for tourism and hospitality in the long run. So we're looking at it very closely.
Airline prices also,
everything's going more expensive, and some people just are wary of traveling. So far, so good. Can't complain.
Yeah. But there's also, Portugal was previously had a really problem with the storms, several storms with a great impact. Do you expect to see an increase in credit defaults?
The answer is yes. If interest rates do go up, some families will not be able to pay. I don't think it's going to be a massive change in the cycle. And the cycle we had following the great financial crisis of 2008, we don't expect to see that again. In Portugal, at the point, 55 billion of NPLs, which is just nuts for the size of our economy. Now it's much lower. It's one of the best ratios in Europe, and the banks are very prepared to deal with that. They are far more conservative in terms of lending. You're seeing alternative lending happening as well. We do some of it. No, I would say if the cycle, even if the cycle changes, I don't think we're going to see the volume as we saw before. So, but it will change. I mean, there will be more NPLs as credit grows inevitably when things link to the other. And if the economic situation goes south in a significant way, I think we'll see bigger numbers. But we don't expect it to be not even remotely near what happened 20 years ago, 15 years ago.
So no banking crisis in the
I don't think so. Banks are super strong at this point. A small number of banks, but I think they've done the homework. Regulation has stepped up as well. You can discuss the point where it's been, but no, the banks are super prepared. I don't think we'll have a major problem economically.
Omer, and for South Campus, this conflict in the Middle East has increased the prices of electricity. Does this have an impact or not?
As of now, it's sort of tracking the situation, but no immediate impact. Obviously, the energy piece we're watching closely. I mean, our teams do that strategically anyway, in terms of the access to renewable, the grid, the pricing, the level of power. Obviously, we buy and pass through to the customers. So we haven't seen a major impact yet. That will be one area we'll keep a very close eye on. We pass through the power to our customers. So it's like leasing a flat. And we provide the power, but they pay for the power. But as we said, it's such a large cost for them. It's 70-80% of the total cost of ownership is the power. So we're actively involved in that, given we're a bulk buyer from the grid. So the energy piece we're definitely watching. The good thing of the Iberian Peninsula generally, and Portugal especially, as we discussed, is a renewable mix, which I think is one of the big discussions now with what's happening in the Middle East. I think countries that did step away from renewable is now reaping the benefits, and maybe that will accelerate as it goes. So that's probably a positive outlook on this for Portugal. In terms of supply chain, no impact yet. The data center supply chain anyway was a very I would say, let's say, tough supply chain. By that, I mean, there's a lot of projects in the world, clearly, and massive projects. So the lead times on equipment is very long anyway. So thankfully, we've had very large transformers arrive with the help of Siemens Energy by ship. We just had that delivered at the end of last year. So key equipment has arrived. Now, obviously, we haven't started construction on the 200 megawatts. We're preparing for that. That's going to need steel, copper, networking. All of this is part of the global supply chain. The important thing for us is working with the suppliers that will help us build that, who have their own redundancy and backup in place. But the longer this goes on, I think it's negative for every industry. So I don't think it's a net positive in any way. But given how we build these, we're confident for now that we can, keep on schedule, which is for us is the most important thing now. When we start Sino 2 fully, which we're now in the pre-works, it's going to be delivery time. For our industry, it's timing on delivery.
When do you expect to start and end?
For Sino 2, we've already started the land works, let's say, the preparation works. No groundbreaking, I would say, soon. Difficult to give a time, but it's on the verge. But the end date is the one we keep in our eyes always. And that remains end of 2027 for the first halls. And this is, for our customers, the key thing is, at the moment, it's a race for delivering AI. So when they need these dates in planning to have that first, if it's 50, 60 megawatts of the building ready, then we need to stick to that. That's what keeps us in terms of working with the supply chain on the delivery of the equipment, the construction workers, and getting everything going. But we're confident on that as of today.
Very well. Omer, thanks very much. João, thanks very much for being with us in Transatlantic Talks. And see you in the next episodes. Thank you.